Hello and welcome. My name is Blaauboer. I am with Yenlo and I am going to talk to Prabath Siriwardena on identity and access management and digital transformation. So in the next 30 minutes, we are going to talk about the exciting world of identity and access management. And the person I am talking to is the Deputy CTO responsible for security of WSO2. Hi, Prabath. Nice to see
Hi
you
Rob.
again.
Hi Rob. Thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure. And before we get started, could you introduce yourself? I already said that you are the Deputy CTO, but can you tell us a little bit more what you do within WSO2?
Yes, I joined WSO2 13 years back in 2017. So I've seen like a lot of phases happening at WSO2 and been there since the very first version of the identity server. So that's the product I've been leading for last few years. And so mostly I oversee the security aspect of WSO2 and all the other WSO2 products and speak to customers and also trying to build a community around identity server. So we have a Slack channel which has over 750 members now. It's growing very fast. And then we do meetups. Yeah, and personally, I authored 7 books, and I'm working on my next book on OpenID Connect, so which will be probably out early next week. Yeah, sorry,
Oh,
early
that's
next year. Yeah.
okay. Well, that's very, very exciting. Thank you for that overview. Let me introduce myself as well. As I said, I'm Blaauboer. I work with Yenlo. I'm responsible for giving training to customers on the major products of WSO2. So that's the identity server, of course, but also the enterprise integrator, as well as the API manager. And I'm also an integration consultant. And I do a lot of blogging about the products because they are very powerful products. And there's a lot that you can tell about the products. And we like to describe what you can do with it, give examples like WSO2 does themselves as well. So let's get started with the interview. And your product, Identity Server, has been named a strong performer in the Forrester Wave on customer identity and access management. So congratulations. Were you very happy when that happened?
Yes, it's a great achievement. We've been waiting for that, and this is because our very first Forrester CIAM wave. And it gave us a very good opportunity to talk about us or let the world know about us, because Forrester is one of the leading analysts. Everyone accept what they say, and very recognized analyst. So I think it's a very good opportunity for us to take the message to the world, so the world would know us better now. So the entire team is very much happy about it.
I can imagine. But it's not the first accolade that you got, right? You also got
That's
one
right.
from.
Yeah, it's the first time in Forrester, but we've been named as a leader in multiple Kapincha Call report. And the latest Kapincha Call report on CIAM is out today, I guess. And there are we are named as a leader in CIAM. So it's
Oh,
great because
congratulations.
thank
That's
you.
great.
So there are only 2 reports on CIAM, specifically on CIAM. One is from Forrester, the other one is from the Kapincha Call. So we have great positions in both the reports. And in Kapincha Call reports, we are a leader. And in Forrester report, we are very convincingly placed as a strong performer. And if you look at the individual ratings, we've been rated with full score, 5 out of 5 in around more than 9 areas, I guess, all key areas. We got full points. So I think it's a
Okay.
great achievement to the team.
That is true. Um, sometimes you read identity and access management, and sometimes you read customer identity and access management. Can you tell me what the difference is between the two, or are they basically the same?
Yes. IAM, identity access management, is a sub-discipline in security. So identity access management is the larger field. It talks about like how to make sure the right person gets right level of access at the right time for the right resource. So that's the IAM discipline. It's a very broader discipline, but still it's a sub-discipline of security. Then CIAM is another sub-discipline under IAM. So under IAM, we mainly talk about, so there are multiple categories. So in terms of functionality, there are multiple categories like access management and federation, where you talk about how you can federate an identity from one place to another place. That's where the SAML, OpenID Connect, those stuff come in. And then also we talk about IGA, identity governance and administration, the role mining, those stuff, sorry, come under IGA. Then we talk about privilege access management, then identity intelligence stuff. So there are multiple areas in IAM by functionality. And also there are two main areas in IAM in terms of solutions. So one is and solutions, and also by target audience. One is the workforce IAM, the other one is the consumer IAM or the customer IAM, that is CIAM. So the technical areas that I mentioned before, they are to some extent part of these two solutions too, like CIAM and workforce IAM. But the weight they put on each area, it varies based on the solution. For example, on workforce IAM, IGA plays a high role. But in consumer IAM, most of the identity federation and access management plays a higher role, IGA to some extent. So CIAM and workforce IAM are two sub-disciplines in IAM. And then again, so there are overlapping areas too. So if you take WSO2 identity server, so our main focus in CIAM, that doesn't mean we totally ignore the workforce IAM. So if you take WSO2 identity server customer base, I would say around 90% of customers are using identity server for CIAM, but there are some customers using identity server for workforce IAM. Even within WSO2 itself, we use it for like our employees, because there's an overlapping area. You can use both, but CIAM is mostly focusing on building the right level of experience for your customers. So then you, as a business, you can retain and acquire more customers and build your business growth. So that's the main objective of CIAM. And we see CIAM as a solution, and IAM, identity, is just a part of it. Just having an identity provider in your company won't give you a CIAM. So that's why some people think just buying an IDP, you can build a CIAM system. No, IAM is a key ingredient, but IAM itself won't give you a CIAM. You need to have an integrated system. So CIAM is a very good example for an integration solution that you build with an IDP. And if we go back history, 10 years back, some people started selling ESB as SOA, service-oriented architecture. So they used to sell, okay, if you have an ESB, you have SOA. That's not correct, right? So SOA is a pattern. ESB is just a tool that helps you build a service-oriented architecture, right? So in addition to ESB, you may need a message broker, you may need the API manager, and more than that, you need to have the set of right architectural principle to build SOA. So those are just tools. Having an ESB won't give you SOA, but they used to sell that, right? So we see to some extent that happens in CIAM market. So you can't just buy an IDP and say you have CIAM, because that won't help you to reach out your objective, to build the right level of experience, and to retain customers and build the acquisitions, rate of acquisitions. So CIAM is something you need to plan carefully. You may need to use multiple tools, but once again, the IAM is going to be the core part of it.
Okay. So why is CIAM so important when you talk about digital transformation?
Of course, yes. So once again, so digital transformation, the key goal of digital transformation, once again, improve the productivity of both employees and also build the right level of experience for customers. So that's one of like couple of driving forces behind digital transformation. So CIM is itself is a digital transformation project. It will work across multiple departments. For example, some tools like marketing automation tools. So those are used by like marketing team. And if you take Salesforce, Pardot, and then Sugar CRM, those are the tools used by your sales department. And then the IDP. So your customers directly, they have access to that. And there are some e-commerce portals. Those may be handled by different departments in your company. So CIM is the story of building integration among all these components. So you will build the overall right level of experience for your customers. So that's why CIAM itself is a digital transformation project, and it's a key thing. And we see a lot of companies moving in that direction. And I did a talk on like CIAM maturity model. We see a lot of like, so when we talk to a lot of customers, we see there are different levels in CIAM. Uh, most of the customers, I would say, they either they just had an IDP, they just let their customers to sign up through a portal and then enable federation. That's one stage. The next stage is you disconnected model. You have the identity infrastructure, then you have other stuff like CRM, marketing automation. Those are disconnected, right? So digital transformation is about building integrated experience. So that's the next level. So we see only a few companies at the next level, like optimal level. So you have everything integrated. You use AI and machine learning to predict your customer behavior and to design your system based on those predictions. So that's the next level. So that's why I see CIM is part of your digital transformation. And moving forward, every company would need that. And more than CIM being a competitive advantage for a company, it'll be a must. Like if you take next 3 years, definitely CIM going to be a must rather than competitive advantage.
So how many companies do you believe are still looking for a CIM solution? Is that 10% of the market, 20%, or even higher?
No, I think that's very higher than that, and and it's a very growing field, especially with the current situation, right? The current situation, like the COVID situation. So that has catalyzed multiple domains that never thought of like a situation like this. So if you look at the current situation, Amazon, then all the other like online businesses, right? So they are benefiting from this. So people don't want to go to a restaurant. People don't want to go to a shop. They want to do everything online, right? So now in the next wave, we will see, not just in US, around the world, we will see many companies will move their businesses to the digital world. A lot of restaurants, right? So even now what we see in restaurants is even if they accept orders, that will be just to the phone or through WhatsApp. They don't track the behavior of their customers. They don't build a better experience for their customers. Every time when we walk into a restaurant, we need to ask them what we need for the lunch or dinner, right? For our meal. They may come up with various suggestions, but those suggestions are not specially like based on our preference. They don't track our preferences, right? Mm-hmm. Every time we need to pick a place, we want to be seated in a restaurant, right? So that's not the right level of customer experience we need, right? So I should be able to go and sit in my preferred place, and the restaurant team, they should like help me to pick what I want. They should come up with more intelligent preferences. So people will go to that level in the future with this new COVID situation, most of the businesses will move to digital world. So when you move to digital world, that means you need to interact with customers more. All right. So then we will see more integrated systems. At the same time, not individual businesses moving to this domain. We will see more platforms will come up, like the Yelp and Grubhub. Similar kind of platforms will be made for different verticals, so they can consume services and reduce the time to market and build the right level of experience. So we see the next wave of businesses, everything will be digital.
So you believe that the change that we're going through due to COVID is going to be staying with us?
It will fuel the next wave of businesses moving to the digital. Yeah.
Okay. And how about the privacy aspects of that? Because, of course, you know everything because your product is GDPR compliant. So you know everything about consent. What are your opinions about what people think, but all of this knowledge is captured about what they like, what they do, what they eat, with whom they eat, etc., etc.?
Yeah. So that that will be a major concern. So the privacy will be key for everything. And even now, if you look at any RFI, we feel there are critical questions on privacy. So you need to support all these regulations, specifically GDPR, catalyze this effort towards privacy. So we have CCPA in California and many other countries. They are coming up with their own regulations. So it will be critical, and the privacy will move from being a luxury to necessity. So in some of the countries, privacy is a necessity, like the demand for privacy. But some countries, sorry, privacy is a luxury. They don't care about privacy. They don't worry about the privacy. We see that's happening even today in many countries. Sorry. But moving forward, privacy would be a necessity for everyone. They will understand they are not getting anything for free. They are paying a price for that. All the services they get for free, they are like giving away privacy, and they will start demanding for that. So we see a huge trend towards that, mostly from US and Europe, but that will spread across the world.
So do you believe that GDPR is taken as a blueprint, or is every country reinventing the wheel as far as privacy goes and consent management and that sort of stuff?
Yeah, so GDPR has been taken as a blueprint, but however, different countries, they have their own problems. So they try to accommodate what's in GDPR based on their local conditions. But yes, so GDPR is the one which has catalyzed this trend towards privacy.
Okay, so that must be a nightmare for you and your team, because you need to keep track of what's happening in each and every country in the world.
Yeah, but yes, sure. But one thing we beneficial for us is, if you are compliant for GDPR, you'll be fine with most of the other regulations, because GDPR is very strict.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's good to know, because otherwise it would be a patchwork landscape of all different things, and you can store something in one country, but you cannot store it in the other country, or you're not allowed to do this. So that's actually good that we have some sort of global blueprint, and every country, of course, can make its own exceptions or add something to it. So when you look at the regions around the world, which region do you believe is the most advanced as far as working with CIAM solutions?
Yeah, I would say definitely the North America region is the most advanced region in the in terms of using the technology, and then Europe. So mostly they are moving towards the next phase in CIAM, building these integration solutions with auto scalability. They are looking for this cloud native features. You should, like, it's a must now, like any new deployment in US, mostly in US, should run on Kubernetes. So that's once again a key thing for CIAM, because in normal case, like workforce CIAM, we don't see a huge difference between the average load and the peak load. right? Maybe like thousands, 2000s like that. But in terms of CIAM, it's in 100,000s. Difference between the average load and the peak load. Because of that, you cannot like provision your hardware to address your peak load all the time. So that will be like your wastage of your resources. So your system should be able to auto scale. So those requirements we see coming from US and also from Europe. But emerging markets, I would say Asia Pacific and Africa, we see them as fresh greenfield markets. And we see a lot of people using the technology, started using the technology, like move to the next phase, early stage, but there are a lot of opportunities and also a lot of interest in that area. Those are the most emerging markets, mostly Africa and Asia Pacific.
Okay. Do you get different questions from customers in these regions with regards to functionality of the product?
Yes. So mostly they come up with their business requirements, but we see in US mostly the saturated markets, they have the requirements of integration with multiple systems, support for advanced authentication options, adaptive authentication, continuous authentication. Then people asking about FIDO. Even yesterday I had a call with one of our customers who are going to build FIDO 2 with passwordless authentication with identity server. And some people even interested about this self-sovereign identity concept and bringing the blockchain-based identities to the world. So that's what we see mostly in US and Europe. But outside that, it's normal. So when you get started on something, when you want to move your business from business to digital, the first thing is to get your identity federation done. So their questions are mostly around that. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm familiar with the product and the extensibility. So you have we have the store, of course, where you have your connectors for a number of products, including the identity server. So is that the natural way to enhance the federated authentication flow, or would that be in a different way?
So yeah, so that's how you extend federated authentication flow in identity server. But more than that, what I see is so extensibility of our product has been a key selling point of the product for last few years. That is mostly because of the nature of the IAM business, and especially in the CIAM domain. So what we see is different businesses, their problems, they have common problems. At the same time, they have their unique problems too. Right. So as one of the key design principles of the product is we should be able to address all the common problems with no issue by out of the box. At the same time, we should have the right level of extensibility in the product to address the unique customer needs. So that's where these extensions come in. That's a way of taking the product to the next level as well. So whenever we get a requirement, we check whether if you don't have that thing implemented in the product, we see whether this is very specific to their customers, or would the other customers too benefit from this particular requirement. So if we think the other people will also benefit from this requirement, then we absorb that with the product. If not, we develop that feature and the customer will keep maintaining that. So at the moment, we have like 40 plus connectors. All of them are like the key connectors, like addressing the common functionality. And we are building that list. And also we are working with the other vendors who owns the key functionality of these connectors to build more close technical relationships.
Okay, so when you talk about numbers, I can imagine that when you focus more on workforce identity and access management, you talk about a lower number of users, whereas you would talk about customers or consumers, whatever you would like to do. You talk about larger pools of users. So what would be a typical number of users that you can, without any problem, put in your system in, for instance, a Kubernetes setup?
Yes, so in identity server, the largest customer base is around 106 million users.
Wow.
Uh, yeah, and we have multiple other large scale deployments too. So we don't see any issue like from the product architecture point of view, we don't rely on the number of users. What we rely on the number of concurrent requests we get. So uh, uh, when you design the deployment architecture and the solution architecture of your product, you need to worry about the concurrent requests, and based on that you can decide how many instances you need. And if you see a huge difference between peak load and the average load, then you can use the auto scalability features from the underneath platform.
Okay, so let's say I'm a customer and I don't have any solution. What would be your plan of action for me to introduce CIAM in my organization?
Yes. So so there are two things. If you don't have anything, then much easy, right? But in that case, of course, you can easily implement identity federation and single sign-on, right? So you will have an IDP. You can build your own user store, and then your applications will integrate with the IDP for logging. That's the easiest part. But what we see happening now is most of the companies with legacy systems that they've been maintaining for more than a decade, now they are trying to move to the CIM world, like with more integrated experience. That's the most challenging thing. So and once again, that's the benefit people get from our product to address those use cases, because product is very extensible. So you can onboard any of those legacy systems to build a unified single sign-on of CIM experience for your customers. We can build connectors, so you may not need to change any of your legacy applications, or the changes will be minimal. We can absorb that change from our side, at least in the first phase, right?
Mhm.
So we can build a connector which speaks the same protocol that your application talks now, and then onboard it. And later in a phased approach, you can do the changes to the application side and bring set of applications in a phased approach to the new like standard world. So we have like worked with multiple customers uh, who were doing that. And then again, the challenge we see is more than technical. It's the like political and other challenges you see in the companies. Like if you have like hundreds of departments, then in some systems they don't even know what's going on, right? So there are no one in the company knows about those systems. In that case, they don't want to touch it, right?
Mhm. Yeah,
So that
if
has
it's
become a
working.
like huge friction to move to the like. I think that's a great challenge, a big challenge in the efforts to move towards digital transformation too. But once again, it's the company leadership toward the right direction from the top should lead that, like should help to clear those obstacles and barriers, and move the company towards a digital transformation or the like integrated CIM solution path.
Okay, so it's a bit like eating an elephant, very small bits, because it would be too big to
Exactly.
eat
Yes.
all at once.
Yeah.
Okay, you talked about the customers driving the functionality. Would that appear on the roadmap of the identity server, that sort of functionality?
Yes. Yes. So we get input to the product roadmap from our customers, and also from our community. And then the IAM team, identity access management team within the company, we evaluate that, we prioritize that, and based on that, we come up with a plan for the immediate next release. And if you go to github.com/wso2/product IS, so there we maintain set of GitHub projects. So you can see all our roadmaps there. So there's a one GitHub project that carries all the items by near term, mid term, and long term. So you can see the areas we are focusing on. And we have another GitHub project board for the immediate release. So that is 5.11 now. So that the project board is almost closed now, because we have done the RC last week. And then we have another project board for the 5.12 release. So basically we get items from the Audience Server roadmap dashboard, project board, and put in the release, tag it under release project boards. Then also you will see an architecture and research project board. So everything we do is transparent. And if you want to suggest anything, either you can use our Slack channel, even you're a customer or not, but being a customer, you will definitely get, I mean, the priority. So that's based on our business model. However, like we respect all the features we get from customers as well as our community. You can go to our GitHub and create an issue as a new feature, and also start like discussing that in the feature itself. Yeah.
Okay, so that's very good to know that you can see what you're doing, that you are more or less transparent in at least what you're working on. So you said there is going to be a new release, and you're already in RC1, or did you completely finish the
Yes,
RC?
RC vote is completed. So release is done, but publicly will be announced in December, because I think things like the PR team, so marketing team, so they have their date, like they have picked the best dates to do the public announcement. So it will be publicly announced in early December.
Okay, so what are you most excited about the feature of the new version that's going to be released?
Yes, so we've been working on building the improving the user experience. Today, what you see in the product is a management console, which is more than 10 years old. Like the structure is 10 years old. So we have come up with 3 portals. User portal, the self-care portal actually we released in last version based on React. And then we also have developed an admin and developer portal, all developed using React. And also we've done a lot of improvements self-care portal too. So those will be in the product. And then we have almost all the functionality in the product available via APIs, RESTful APIs. We had SOAP services before, and now we have an equivalent REST API as well. But then again, you can keep using SOAP services. This service is backward compatible. And also even this, you see the new UX, new portals, we are marking them as beta. The only reason is we are also working towards our cloud. So these portals will be a key part of our cloud deployment. It will be the same portals that you will see in our cloud with some theming changes. So we are launching private beta early next year. We want to get customer feedback. So once again, UX is not something easy to design. You will get like people have different opinions. So we need to get everyone's opinion and see what's best for that. So that we may make some changes in the portals we are releasing in this release in next few months. So that's why we are making as beta. Try out, give your feedback, but we don't recommend to use that. Use the management console still. But in next release, probably in like April, so all the portals will be marked stable, because we are getting the feedback, and we'll address all this feedback and comments and release it as stable version in April.
Okay, so you're sticking to the 3-month roughly release for a new version, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and that will be 5.12, I guess.
5.12, or like, so there are some internal discussions still private. So probably it may mark as 6.0. But for now, let's stick as like 5.12. Yeah.
Okay, so we talked about a lot of things, and I want to talk about something that is a nightmare for everyone, and that is user ID and password. I don't know how many you have, but I have, I think, over 200 user IDs, passwords, and I am lazy. And when are we going to get rid of passwords? And what is Identity Server doing to speed up that transformation?
It's very challenging, right? So password has been used, I guess, like for more than 1,000 years. Password has been used since this Alibaba era, right? The Open Sesame is the first password. right? And it was brute force too, right? Like the other guy tried to brute force the open sesame, trying out different words to
Mm.
open the cave, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a challenging thing. So people been trying out a lot of stuff. Even when we started that in 2007, InfoCard, information cards or card space from Microsoft, they tried to address this concern, but somehow that didn't work. And over the last like more than a decade, I guess, so different standard bodies like they came up with their own standards, but none of them uh, were able to address this concern. We see FIDO2O passwordless authentication is very promising, but it has its own issues going to the mass market. It's We see a lot of like companies, they are giving the FIDO devices to their employees, but going to the mass market, it will, and we see that's happening. The way it's happening now is if you get Windows, so Windows Hello supports FIDO2O, and the MacBooks, the fingerprint scanner, it supports FIDO2O, so you don't need to have different device. If your website is compliant with FIDO2O, you just touch your computer, it'll work. And then with mobile phones, like smartphones being popular, then it has mobile phone itself can be a FIDO device, where you can authenticate with your the facial recognition or fingerprint. It will go to the mass market, but it will take some time. So till we get to the mass market, we cannot totally get rid of passwords, like get to the passwordless authentication. But way we can make password-based authentication strong is using MFA, using multi-factor authentication. In fact, if you just enable MFA as a strong second factor, you can reduce password breaches by almost 99%, right? Just engaging a second factor. But people are reluctant to do that. But once again, MFA we see as a must. And the most popular second factor is OTP or SMS, because everyone has a phone now, right? Not necessarily a smartphone, even a very small like average phone. So that will work with SMS. So we see that's popular. And then again, TOTP is also popular, but once again, you need to have a smartphone to install the TOTP application. uh, Enterprise level, we see a lot of like starting to adapt FIDO and going to passwordless authentication. But now I think we are very much optimistic about the future, the direction towards passwordless authentication. But I would say it will take 3 to 5 years for FIDO to reach the mass market. But at the moment they are in the right direction, so they have building a large ecosystem. Everyone is supporting FIDO2O. So yes, I think the future would be like very optimistic.
Yeah. And of course, you have adaptive
Yeah,
authentication as well.
I forgot to mention. Yeah, so that's once again a way of like, so if you have to once again, it's always you need to find the right balance between security and the user experience, right? Even if you enable multi-factor authentication, if you keep on asking it all the time, so it'll be a pain, right? So then what you can do is you can use some kind of adaptive authentication. You authenticate your system with MFA for the first time, and next time you will decide whether you need a second factor or not based on like the context. So if you are just logging with the same browser, same IP address, then you can just log in with username and password, ignore the second factor. But if you change the region, if you travel from US to Amsterdam or Colombo, then you may need to authenticate a second factor. Uh, so, so adaptive authentication is about that. You decide how you want to authenticate the user based on other contextual parameter, and we have strong support for adaptive authentication in the product.
Okay. Well, I think we covered a lot of ground, and I'm pretty sure that we can talk for hours and hours on this very interesting topic. But I would like to thank you for your time explaining to us what CIAM is, and of course explaining about the new version of the identity server that's going to be out early December. Prabath, thank you very much for your time. I hope you have a great day, and we will talk face-to-face or via video, depending on COVID.
Yeah,
Thank you very much for your time, and have a great day.
Thanks, Rob, and thanks for having me. And I enjoyed talking to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.